Well, I hope you guys that are watching the YouTube channel are getting into habit of making trading and investing part of your existing lifestyle and not changing your existing lifestyle just so you can trade and invest. Is a really, really important distinction there. Well, making trading and investing part of your existing lifestyle does require you to have a rhythm, which is one of the main things that I get my clubhouse members into. That's the first things I do when people come into the clubhouse. I make sure they get into a rhythm and they stop losing money. Speaking of stopping to lose money, one of the easiest ways to stop losing money is by stop fighting trends. But sometimes things get very, very overbought or very oversold where there's an opportunity to make a trade. And right now we're looking at the energy sector, which has been underperforming pretty much anything out there year to date and way beyond that as well. And let's see if there's an opportunity to maybe make some money there.
Okay, so let's talk about energy stocks, and we usually look at the energy sector of the S&P 500. There's an ETF. It's got its ticker symbol as XLE, which usually is a pretty good representative of what energy stocks and actually even energy as a commodity tends to do. So here's a very simple chart, and you can probably see what's going on here. We've got that yellow line all the way at the bottom. That's the energy sector versus the rest of the sectors of the S&P 500. I know that looks like a very complicated chart. That's all it is. It's just a bunch of sectors, stock sectors of the S&P. And you can see that divergence very, very clearly there. Well, if we move on and we look at this a little bit differently, what I've got here is I made a chart of the S&P 500 in blue. In red, we've got the energy sector or the XLE ETF once again. So again, here you can see a very wide dispersion, energy dramatically underperforming that broader market. So that's another way of looking at it. A third way of looking at it is by looking at the energy stocks like the XLE here at the top end of the chart. Okay, that's the energy sector. And at the bottom, I took this relative chart. I took the XLE and divided it by the S&P, so showing us the relative weakness. So not only has it been an awfully weak sector in absolute terms, energy stocks just going lower and lower and lower, but also in relative terms, it's been just awful. We don't want to try to catch a falling knife. That's not my thing to do. Over my nearly 20-year career as a trader and investor, I've learned that that's not a smart thing to do. Every once in a while, though, things get to the point where they're very oversold and the reward to risk favors at least an attempt. Now, I'll be very clear, I'm not quite sure the attempt is there just yet in energy stocks, particularly given the fact that a whole bunch of them are going to report earnings here very soon. But just so you kind of see where we are, I think this is quite interesting. First of all, the energy sector in and of itself, the XLE, is coming into a spot here where it's retraced exactly 50% of the entire rally from the lows down here, which was January 2016, up to the highs in December of 2016. So the entire year of 2016, that rally has been now cut in half, and we are more or less at the halfway point now. Now, that in and of itself is not a spot to just blindly buy or a reason to buy, but we're getting to a point here where we're starting to see some price action in other parts of the energy market, like, for example, oil services stocks. If you were to look at these, you can see last week we had another sell-off attempt, okay? And this is a weekly chart, and we then closed way up high, way engulfing the previous week's candle. So this is last week's price action. You can see we tried to dip below the previous week and rallied all the way back, so completely negating, so to speak, that bearish price action from the prior week, and also quickly negating any bears that wanted to push that market lower at the beginning of the week. So what single name stocks are there? Well, to me, when I look at energy stocks, I'm usually drawn, not usually, but sometimes, actually a lot of times, I'm drawn to the oil services stocks. Why? Because they act well. There's some big names in there, like Halliburton and Schlumberger. So let's have a look at one of these. Schlumberger, and this is just an idea for right now, so you guys can see how we're looking at the top-down approach. We're looking at the broader market first, then the sector, both in absolute and relative terms, then industries, and then finally a single name stock here. And you can see here very clearly we've had exhaustion selling take place. In fact, from a momentum perspective, a lot of these oil services stocks actually bottomed all the way back in May. That's at this point like 2.5 months ago. And price has actually continued to drop until just late last week, or excuse me, late week, the prior week before, so like a week ago or something like that. And now we're seeing an attempt to rally. Now, we haven't, to be clear, we haven't yet broken out of anything. We're still stuck in a range, but it's an initial interesting sign to see some of these stocks come back to life. So to me, I'd like to see a little bit more confirmation here, maybe another week of rally, maybe another solid few days of rallies. But this is getting increasingly interesting to see potentially, to be able to potentially trade these stocks to the upside. One more thing, guys, if you are not part of the clubhouse, here's, for example, what you would have missed out on last week. We went in and we bought some Twitter stock and some call options around $18.50 up. The stock then actually proceeded to rally from that point on into the close of the week, rallied another 7%, real quick money. Very nice money to be made in the clubhouse. I communicate this kind of stuff in real time by text alert to clubhouse members as well. It looks something like this. They get the text sent to them. If you're interested, you can take a trial for just $7 for the first 30 days in the link down below. I hope to see you guys in the next video, and